Hello, I'm Christina, and I'm here with Martina, and we're your podcast hosts for Everyday Ordinary Extraordinary Women. We are deep divers and avid students of life and powerful facilitators for healing. In real life, I'm an intuitive healer who loves to blend massage therapy and energy work to provide customized holistic services for my clients.
And I'm a life coach specializing in parent and women empowerment, and I'm also a sound healer. We both love to incorporate crystals, essential oils, angelic Reiki, oracle decks, and of course, intuitive guidance into our work.
We were inspired to create this podcast after pondering this question. What would a world look like where we can be inspired by every person? Usually, we're very quick to compare and judge ourselves and others. And when we're doing that, everybody's losing. Depending on my point of view, I can either feel small because I feel uh, lacking, or I can feel arrogant and dismissive because I feel superior. Those are the only two options from that perspective, and neither of those make us feel very good. But here's our thought: someone's everyday normal is someone else's extraordinary. Judgment comes from our first impressions, so we invite you, the listener, to go beyond your first impressions and see the magic everywhere. There's inspiration at every corner and everyone if we're willing to look. And today we are so happy to welcome Shirley to the podcast. Shirley, welcome. Please go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners.
Hello, everybody. Christina, Martina. I'm thrilled to be here and share this time with you guys. So yeah, I'm Shirley Zaccheo, and I am the owner of You Improved. I am a certified image consultant, and what that encompasses, and it's really popular right now, is color analysis, helping you choose the best colors to make you shine, really. But what my business has really truly evolved in is helping you honor the moment that you're in now. So I say honor your now. And that's really important. So I do focus on color first because, as you guys as healers and intuitives, color has energy. Colors have auras. We have those auras. People sometimes say they see the color around you. And colors have emotions. They hold stories. Clothing holds stories. So sometimes going through somebody's closet is an emotional, psychological journey, and why we hold on to certain things. So it's more than just, definitely, it's way past and more than vanity. It's really just honoring the journey that you've been through, how you got here, because I know why I became an image consultant. It was a journey that got me to that moment as well. And I want to help others celebrate those journeys and break through and really, again, honor their now and honor where they're going if they have those goals. And it doesn't matter if they're career persons or stay-at-home moms or whatever that moment is right now. Honor your now, and the first 10 minutes should be all about you so that you can give that energy to everything and everyone in your life. So that is who I am. I'm Shirley Zaccheo, owner of You Improved, and I'm a certified image consultant helping you maximize your best 7-second image.
Ooh.
Wow. And it is, right? It's like we just moved, so we did a lot of decluttering, right? And it's going through our closet, through my closet. And I know there's still a lot of stuff that doesn't belong there, but it's like, I'm not that person anymore. Right? I outgrew these clothes, but we believe that the clothes hold the memory still, right? Rather than the memory lives on whether we have the clothes or not. And it's a fascinating concept, right? It's going to my closet is always like, okay, can I let go of this part of me, right? Can I let go of this? Yeah, I totally get it. I totally get it.
There's a lot in your closet. Your closet has, well, they say the closet has skeletons, but there's stories, there's moments, there's sad, there's happy, there's joy, there's tons. I should have a degree in psychology and counseling behind me as well, because there's breakdowns, there's everything in that closet. And it, during COVID, everybody was cleaning out their closets because they had nothing else to do. and famous decluttering person, you know, if it's not bringing you joy, release it, thank it, and release it. You know, there's a lot behind releasing some of the items that we hold near and dear in our hearts. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and then there's, I imagine, yeah, as you said, like there's the shame and the guilt and a lot of that in there as well, right? Like maybe you bought something that you've, never used, right? And
Right.
and stuff like that was like, well, but in most of the times it's all in our minds. So it's beautiful. Now, one of the things that in the conversation we had before that I really appreciate is your aliveness. I want to say, right? Your like your curiosity and your aliveness. So thank you for being here. Now, if we really knew you, what would we know about you? If we really knew you.
Ooh, wow, that's a deep question. Well, when people say, if you're going to ask Shirley a question, be prepared that you're going to get the truth. Um, and I've learned, my father jokingly used to say it's like a baby rattler. You don't know how to control the venom. But I've learned to, because it was used to be direct, right? You don't know how to control those answers. So I've learned how to, and I'll ask somebody, it's like, how much do you want me to address this? Because why sugarcoat something? When somebody's asking you a deep and honest question, you don't want to just kind of fluff it, right? You don't want to, they're asking you for a reason. So let's explore that more. Let's ask more questions. Why are we going here? So I am very direct, but in a way that's going to help you continue that journey of why you asked me that question. I'm a people person. I can talk with anyone. Doesn't matter where you're from, what position you hold, doesn't matter. I love people, and I can talk, and I have a good time talking with people. So I'm inquisitive. I learn. I'm still learning my craft. I don't stop. So yeah, and I'm very colorful. So jokingly say, you know that line in Sixth Sense, I see dead people, I see color, and so the world is a colorful place, and if you peel back the layers, there's a lot to be there, and there's enjoy it. Why not? Yeah.
A friend, and every time you ask her if these colors go together, she'll be like, all colors go together in nature, all flowers go together. Why wouldn't those colors go together? And it always, every time I'm in my closet thinking about things going together, she pops in my head, and I'm like, yeah, if it makes me happy, I'm gonna put those colors together. Like, who cares? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually did a series, and every now and then I'll pop up a series on my Facebook page that says color shows, or nature shows us, nature teaches us, right? So if you take a flower, all those colors in a flower, why wouldn't you, right? Even right down to the dirt, right? Different colors of dirt, different, so you could put that outfit together, absolutely. But it may not be the right colors for you per se, right? So even though nature teaches us, different colors do different things to our skin and our face. So why wouldn't you could wear those? And even if I say they're not the best colors for you, I teach my clients, wear it like you own it. Walk out of the house like, I got this. Why not? Right? So that's what I'm going to give you, right? I could say that lime green is not your best color, but if you love it, do you?
And
That
I think that's beautiful because ultimately I have a friend like Peter who he would do makeup for people, and at one point he said he would help people with clothing and stuff like that, and he's like, if it makes you happy, that's good enough.
yeah, yeah.
That's the most important thing, because if it makes you happy, then you're gonna like it will shine, right?
You're giving that energy to everybody, right? You're giving that energy to every single person when you do that. So who is that hurting? I mean, if you're wearing some outrageous outfit and you're, checkers on top and flowers on the bottom, and we think it's like, what are you doing? But you walked out of the house going, hey, it's fantastic. Who's that hurting? there's no, that's joy. Somebody's spreading joy.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need more joy.
We definitely need
Absolutely.
more joy. Yes.
For sure. Shirley, tell us a funny, silly, or embarrassing story about yourself.
Oh, funny, silly, or embarrassing. When so this is hilarious. So to me anyway. So I'm half Italian, half Puerto Rican, and I don't speak Italian or Spanish. I was born on the island, and my mother had 7 children, but I'm number 6. So there was one day when apparently she thought she had taught me enough Spanish to understand what she was saying. And she had said something in Spanish, and I just looked at her and I'm like, of course I have a shirt on, Mom. I've got clothes on. And she was basically asking if I'd washed my hands. So I really don't speak Spanish at all. It's something that I wish I had learned, but it just was not, my mother was not that nurturing type. And we just, by the time she got to number 6 and 7, we were done. She was done. So that's where we are. And so yeah, it's and a funny, and so that's a clothing story. And then another clothing story that's on the opposite end of the spectrum, and maybe that's held on my father. Once my mother and father got divorced, he did the best he could raising 3 girls, and he also helped raise my mother's other children. They all consider him their stepfather, and so he did the best that he could. So I was wearing a blouse in high school, and you know how high school is, middle school and high school, it's brutal. So I was wearing and it basically fell apart while I was wearing it. It was a new shirt. It was from Kmart, back in the days of Kmart, and this little peasant blouse, and it was just poor quality. And so yeah, so I remember that deeply, and embarrassing. But again, my father doing the best that he could with the means that he had, and just and I've lived by that, raising my children, do the best that you can with what you have. And that clothes have stories, and they hold deep meanings to us. So yeah. So
It's interesting because it's like it seems a theme, right? When you're 5 years old, you're talking about clothes, then your clothes fall apart, and yeah,
yeah.
beautiful.
My mother was very fashionable. She didn't leave. She was very Hispanic, right? So the cultures, different cultures have different ways of expressing themselves. And she was a very fashionable woman, and she had legs for days. So even though she was 5'2" and got shorter as she got older, it was she knew how to put herself together. And so you didn't leave the house not done. That's a very Spanish thing. And so having to represent, you're always representing your family when you leave the house, because somebody might know you. And I really didn't hone in on that until I was in my second marriage with a foreign born person. And I was going out with my sisters, and we were going to a nightclub, and he's like, "What? No, you're not." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am. I'm going out with my sisters." And he's like, "But what if you run into somebody that I know?" And I was like, "I'll say hello," but in their culture, that was not seen as something to do, right? So I didn't get that concept of representing the family unit until later in life, and how you represent yourself. And then teaching my daughters, who are all dancers, it's like, you're not leaving the house wearing pajama pants. We're just going to dance. You're just dropping off and picking up. And I'm like, something in between that 3-minute ride could happen. We're not leaving the house in pajamas, because you're representing the family unit, so just those cultural norms that get played in and developed and honed for different reasons. So yeah.
I love that you didn't quite get that concept as a child, but now you're making sure that you drive it home for your kids. I think that's really special because I think generationally we start losing a lot of these traditions, and that you're making it important is really very special.
I get text messages from my oldest daughter, who's out in Arizona. She moved out there when she was 15 to live with her father. And I get, when she moved out on her own, and a couple times she's texted me from doctor's office going, "Look at what this girl's wearing." No, it was only to me. She wasn't posting it anywhere. And I said, "See," because now they see it, it wasn't, and it was also Multicultural family, right? Multicultural religions in our house. We've always had an open door policy of learn about the people around us. And so carrying those, again, societal, cultural, religious norms with us, and trying to raise 3 daughters in a not completely covered society, but a modest dress. It was so difficult trying to buy clothes for teenage girls that were going to be okay for them to go to school and not get, ridiculed that they're not wearing the most fashion forward kids clothes that the teenagers were wearing at the time, but also respectful of, your young women. Respect your body, respect who you are. You don't have to put it all out there. So there was always messages of your identity in the house, of what you're putting out there, the messages that you're sending, not only the color messages, but the clothing messages, of who you are and who you're representing. First yourself, then the family, then everything else that goes with that.
I remember having a conversation with my daughter. I think she was 9 or 10, maybe she was 12. And it was like that, well, but I can wear whatever I want. And I'm like, yeah, but what attention do you want to draw to you? And where do you want people's attention? Right. And you get to choose, right? If you get to choose at any point, right? It's like, do you want, if you have a really cut out shirt, do you want the people's attention on your breasts or
Right.
on your legs? Or where do you want people's attention? Or do you want them to be able to hear what you're saying
Mhm.
and be present to that?
Right.
And at the same time, I understand that they say, well, if I want to wear this, why don't I get to wear this? Right? So it's a very fine line between that. Like why do we have to adapt if they
Right.
feel bothered? Right. So it's a very fine line between respecting what's happening in your environment, where do you want your attention, and then giving in because somebody else could be bothered, right? I believe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, clothing has been used as a tool since the end of time,
Yeah.
or beginning of time, I should say.
Yeah.
Uh, you can go back all the way in history to when we didn't have clothing. If you're a biblical person, to now, clothing has been a device, of a power tool. And for women, it's either been to cover up and be modest, or to reveal and use it as a strategy. And I still see women blatantly using it as a strategy, even so much in just to color. I heard recently that a woman who's a secretary in an office knew that her boss's favorite color was red. And when she needed contracts signed, not for any means or gains, but when she needed the paperwork done and signed, she would wear red and it would get done.
Yeah.
Because he was in that frame of mind that he loved that color and she knew what she was doing.
Mm.
And so and yet when I'm talking with my clients and I let them know, if you mean business and you want to portray that, then you wear a pop of red. But other than that, red's an aggravator. Red is going to increase the blood pressure of the other person staring at you. So if your end objection or objective is not to get somebody aggravated, don't wear red. Don't wear it to an interview. Don't wear it to court. Don't wear it to when you're talking to your spouse, if that's not the objective that you're trying to gain. Know your audience, know the room. But if you're going in there to, I need this contract signed, we mean business, this is a hit and run, and you either take it or leave it, then by all means, wear that red power suit, wear that tie, and say,
Yeah.
it's either take it or leave it. Do you?
But do it responsibly, right? I think that's what I hear in what you're saying. Like, do it responsibly, right?
Yeah,
It's not about going out and manipulating. It's about the responsibility that you bring to the table,
absolutely.
and knowing clearly
Right.
what you're doing, and yeah.
Yeah.
So let me just pivot a little bit. What do you consider is your superpower? What is your superpower?
I always say when you know your God-given talent to tap into that, and mine is communicating. I truly can communicate with people, and see bigger pictures, like the win-wins. Um, you have to be able to see both sides of situations. Sometimes it may be detrimental. Like, not everybody is going to win. Somebody has to lose. I'm a sports person. I get the whole win-lose. I'm not the person that wants an award for everybody. I'm not the give a certificate to every team. And no, I don't. I've coached, I've played at all different levels. You have to, at some level, have that win or lose so that you know how to try something different the next time, right? And to hone your skills better or learn from the loss, right? Because there's always a lesson in the loss. But I've just always been able to say, well, if we did it this way, we could get this result. If we tried it another way, or tell me more about that, or how can we, so it's all about the conversation. Even in sales, I've been in sales since I was 16 at a roadside in California selling flowers to husbands on the way home in the doghouse. We were next to a cemetery, so they were going to go visit a cemetery or a loved one. So, are you buying roses or are you buying, carnations? What are we doing here, right? So it's all about the conversation. And they could be buying roses, but is that her favorite flower? My mother's was gladiolas. And even right before she passed, and we visited her in the nursing home, I went out to San Diego and I went to every flower shop. I called them. I was like, who's got fresh gladiolas? And I went and picked up a bunch of fresh gladiolas, brought them to her. And she had dementia. And so she's just sitting there and gently started to pick off the tops of the gladiolas, right? And we're just watching her, and her hands are just moving, and my kids are watching. And all of a sudden, my son goes, Nana, what are you doing? And what are you doing with the flowers? And she goes, oh, if you don't take these off the top ends of the flowers, the rest won't bloom. And so like she knew this, like there was nothing, like it was second nature to her. 86, comes and goes, but she just knew. And so my son goes, ooh, Nana, you still got your skills. And my mom's like, didn't miss a beat. She's like, I got skills to kill. So just having that conversation, those were her favorite flowers. I could have brought her any other flower. So having the communication skills and knowing the person and knowing the end result that you're trying to achieve is critical for success. It's critical for knowing you. It's going to help you in your journey of knowing where you want to go and achieve your goals. So I always say, if you have a talent now and you want to lean into that, figure out what that talent is. They say, do what you love. Yes, it may not be exactly what you need to do, but just find out what that talent is. And mine's communicate. That's my superpower.
I think your superpower goes a little deeper too, because it's like, yes, you're a communicator, but you also are seeing, like, you're seeing people, right? Like, seeing their auras, their colors, what works for them, what does. So, and you can communicate, like, so it's twofold, right? Like, you're seeing the whole person in front of you, which is a gift in and of itself.
It is, because the other day I was working with somebody and she was like, boom, we were doing an inventory list and she's, I was like, I hate that kind of stuff. It's like, give me an Excel spreadsheet. No, dear Lord. So my favorite partnership, you give me a package and I'll go out and sell it, talk to it, and you do the paperwork and we will be a dynamic duo, right? Perfect. And she just ran through this list. I said, you've been amazing warehouse supervisor. Like, you just ding, 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 ding. And she's like, really? Like, nobody had ever honed in and saw that she had this talent or this skill. So like you said, I see people for their talents, for their skills, and I'll tell them, because when was the last time somebody said, nobody apparently told her? And then I said, what have you, and then I take it further. So there's the communication part. I was like, what have you done before this? What has been in your, and she told me the list of things that she did. I went, oh, there it is again. There it is again. And nobody really latched on to say, you have a future in doing this, this, and this. Let's see how far you can go.
Yeah.
So it's seeing somebody for their talents, and it's saying, what do you want to do with where do you want to take this? Where do you see yourself with this?
Good stuff. Whew. So I'm gonna throw a big one at you, Shirley.
Oh,
So
Lord.
what made you who you are today? So maybe like what was the biggest lesson, or what took the most courage, or when did you have to stand for something that really mattered to you?
Well, I mean, are we talking professionally or personally, or we break? Because
Either.
I can break questions down compartmentally like that. So, I mean, professionally, what brought me to this point is being a Burger King mom, single mom, first time divorce, wearing a ponytail, a greasy uniform, raising my daughter on $5.50 as a manager. Woo! Ooh, how do you do that? That I know, right? And trust me, that was a long time ago, but it still feels like you're making $5.50 in this economy these days with prices. But just having the realization that this wasn't going to work long term. And even though I've known phenomenal women managing and owning franchises at that level in fast food and doing great things, and we had a great time doing it, but it just wasn't, I didn't see myself there for a long time. Um, and I wasn't going to settle and be miserable as I've seen some women do. So that was a breaking point of saying, I've got to do better. When you know better, you do better. And I wasn't also going to be the bitter divorced person or that my parents were. They talked about each other to literally the day they both passed. Your father this, your mother this, and I vowed that I wasn't going to be that person. I wasn't going to bring that bitterness to my family or to my life. Not that I didn't have those feelings, but I wasn't going to, you know, share them and bring them to have that manifest into my children's lives. Um, so those pivotal moments in my life, so, having gone through major losses and having to pull my pants up, pull your big girl pants up, wash your face and get it done. That's something else that people know me for is Shirley will get it done. My father will, out of his three girls that he had with my mother, I'm the middle, so I'm a middle child, perfectly middle child. Um, I'm a Virgo, so forget about it. Whatever y'all want to say about that, I am a true Virgo. And it's Virgo season, y'all watch out. I watched a funny video the other day about Virgo season and I was laughing, but it's Virgo season. And one time the engine in my car, again, I was managing Burger King, the engine in my little Bebop car died. And of course I didn't have the money, $5.50 an hour, rent, single parent, the whole 9 yards. And my father, Dad, can you help me? No. And the only reason why he said no was because he's like, figure it out. Because he knew me. I was just like him, the hard-headed Italian, just really. So I went to the bank. I went through all the steps of what you would do to try to get, the refurb engine, the whatever it took. And I went through all those steps. And not until all those steps were, resolved and dissolved. And then he said, okay, I'm going to loan you the money. We built a repayment plan. And every week, every paycheck, $20 in an envelope went back to my father. And so he knows, and right until the end, like about $300, he finally wrote me a slip and said paid in full. So he knew that I'm the one that would figure it out. And so those are the things that make you. It's when challenges come, okay, what do we need to get this done? Practical. Yes, there's a little bit of woo-woo in my life, but I lean towards let's do the practical and then let's manifest making it happen as well. So I'm a combination of the both. Is that it? I don't know. I think I may have lost track of the question, but
No, I think you answered it beautifully. Yeah, no, I could really see. I mean, of course, we're always a product of all of our experiences and life journeys. Um, but I love that little piece of your dad really like being that stand for you to be a responsible adult. Like he had your back, but he was going to really like make you do the work, right? And um,
yeah, yeah. And he and out of our my older sister, my younger sister, same situations, different, and without going into too much detail, totally different. He always knew that I was going to be the one that would not ask for the help to figure it out until it was the bitter end, until all resources were exhausted. And I think that that's something that, again, we talked about society and people and younger people coming up. It's like there's so much at their fingertips now that the struggle's still real, but I think that figuring things out isn't as challenging now, right? Because you can just Google, how do you do this? You don't have to really scrape, I don't know, as much. I might be wrong, but it's a little bit different, I think.
It is. I think now the struggle is that there's too much information at their fingertips that they don't know what to choose from. I
Correct.
mean, it's the
Yeah, I was going to say it's the same.
problem.
It's the same and it's different, right?
Hmm.
And one of the things that I hear in what you're saying is like there's the difference between empowerment and enabling,
Mm,
Yes.
right.
and how worlds apart they are, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And how cool that your father knew to empower you, right?
Right.
Because often what I see what happens is there's more enabling that happens than empowering, right? We take things away from them and do it for them rather than saying, you just go ahead, you figure it out. I'm here right next to you,
Right. Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
Which is, you know, so needed in today's day and age, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
like that tough love or that benign neglect or however you want to call it inside of being a parent, right? Where it's like, no, no, you got this. You got this. I'm here if you need, but you got this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a completely different game. And yes, you always want to be there for your children or whatever, but at the same time, if you don't let them navigate those situations, are you setting them up for failure because you gave them too much information, you gave them too much help, right?
Yeah.
Or you can go the reverse and have the parental guilt of not helping them too much, right? But you're always on that fine line. When my kids were adults and graduated high school, it was either full-time job or school, right? And you're not living here rent free either because that's not reality. Nothing is free. And we weren't a kick out society. We're like, it wasn't 18 and you're out the door and buy and go live, right? Yes, you could stay here, but here's the reality of things, right? Internet's not free. If you think you're going to go out and get an apartment, yeah, you think you're going to get an apartment, but are you paying the rent? Are you paying the electricity? Are you paying your Wi-Fi? Are you paying the cable? Or you want to stream, right? You may not be paying cable, but you want to stream. They don't think of all those little pieces, right? So if you're going to stay here, it's either full-time school or part-time school and part-time job or whatever that combination looks like, and you're going to pay rent. It may not be like a full-blown whatever the rents look like now, but you're going to pay something so that you can feel that money leaving your hands and you can feel that responsibility so that when you get out into the world. And we did that with one of our children, and at the end when she finally did decide to move out, I handed her an envelope of the money that she had been giving me because I didn't need the money. It
Yeah.
was a life lesson to say this is the reality of living on your own.
I think that's beautiful because I was thinking, like our children didn't come back, right? But if they would, I would do that and I would put that money aside to
Mhm.
hand them later, right? Because it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
we're paying everything anyway, and
right,
that's an extra. And if you don't need it, then
right.
and for them it's great if they get it handed afterwards. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, it is. But it's those. So teaching our children life lessons have shifted and how we can teach them now. So we've kind of been conscious about how to do that.
Yeah. And like being responsible, right? I was just literally talking to Christina before you came on about how can we be responsible without being afraid,
Hmm.
right? Like that, like with money, like can we find that line where we can be responsible and still enjoy, right?
Hmm.
Rather than totally deprive ourselves or totally binge, right? Again, that's the conversation where we either binge or we restrict ourselves so much, but
Hmm.
there's never a place in the middle where we are free,
Hmm.
flowing, you know.
Oh, money has so many different, I had 13 years of banking, you know, after that Burger King job and that life moment, it was, and the mustard seed that planted of becoming an image consultant, it was, okay, I need a career job, right? And so it was learn how to get dressed. It was learn how to put my makeup on. And I answered an ad in a paper to become a teller at a bank, right? I didn't know how to do that. And I already told you, I hate Excel. So I obviously suck at math, right? Instead of 2 years in high school of needing credits for math, I took 4 because algebra, what? The only math I need is how much do I have for shoes and purses at the end of the month, okay? And how much is that discount, okay? So, and usually I'm pulling out my calculator for that. So, but math was not my strong suit. So I was surprised I actually passed the basic teller math test that they gave back in the day. And I got the job. And it led to a beautiful career. But I also didn't know how to get dressed. And there was and I forgot this story, I tell it too. And at the end of the day, one day, I thought I had a beautiful suit. And, you know, it was a suit from the Burlington Coat Factory in the career section when they used to have that, you know, it was the polyester, it was dusty mauve, it had the jacket, it had a skirt. That's a fun word for all you young people to look up. It had a skirt, I had my pantyhose on and my white little heels and my LA Law blouse. Again, go back to the late 80s and 90s of the LA Law blouse, right? And the whole day went through. At the end of the day, the head teller came up to me and she's like, Shirley, that's not a professional outfit. And I was mortified because I didn't know better. I thought I did well. And I said, okay. And it was more, I think, the skirt than anything else, even though I felt that it wasn't short, it was above the knee, whatever that looked like. But I was thankful that she did it at the end of the day, so that mortified feeling wasn't all day long. But it was a life lesson. Again, another clothing life lesson that I learned along the way. And I just think that there's those lessons that we can learn differently now than in your face, and we have to share them differently because how they're received are completely they're just way out there. I don't know. I think I lost track of my thought when I was going there, but it's just so many things are miscombobulated, you know, of how those messages are sent to us.
I love just how you said that she came up to you at the end of the day to tell you that. And
Yeah.
how thoughtful, right? Like, because that's taking your feelings into consideration, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to make her uncomfortable the whole day. I'm just gonna let her know at the end of the day.
And it's funny because if you think of the time and the era and who this woman was, right? You're straight out banker female woman, right? The roller set hair, you know, the cookie cutter suit, skirt, businesswoman of the early 90s, right? So if you think of banker woman, you'll have the picture in your head perfectly, right? She looked like the fast forward quintessential 50s woman, right? No taller than me. So she didn't have that nurturing mentality. You know, she was slightly scary, by the book all the time. But she was also became one of my greatest professional mentors
Yeah.
because she, by teaching me by the book, I learned, well, and my father being in the military, the rules will save you, right? Even though we talked earlier about learn the rules and then learn how to play within them. Yes, the rules will save you. And I think a lot of kids don't have that today because they see everybody breaking the rules and then apologizing right after, going, oh, I'm so sorry. I felt bad that I did. No, you knew what you were doing when you did it. But now society says, oh, if we do a video and we can apologize, we're okay, right? And let's see how well that lead balloon flies. But the rules will save you. And she became one of my best mentors of how you conduct yourself in the business world. Follow the rules and you should be okay. But then you get to know when to break them or when to bend them or when to say, this rule needs to be modified, you know, because it's not serving today. So yeah, so at the end of the day, she really taught me how to be a professional woman in public. And and that bank, other than the branch manager, was all women.
Wow.
and I watched how the women dressed, and it really was the mustard seed of how to present yourself in a professional world, but also play in a man's world of banking. There was a lot of messages in there, and that was really where it started, of how to get dressed, how to do my makeup, how to present myself, how to provide for myself as a single mom with a career, and where that was going to take me. And I took all those life lessons, and that really was what fast forwarded me. That was 1992, and I started my business in 2003, and saying, if I learned how to do it, then I can show and teach others how to do this as well.
Yay!
It's so beautiful. Yeah, I'm just listening to you, and I'm like, yeah, and then you talk about the rules, and you bend them for right now, right? Because it's like we have all these black and white rules that it's right now. What do I need right now? What works right now,
Mhm.
right? And yes, I understand by society standards, we need the rules because otherwise everything would be chaotic, or at least that's what some people say. But I say that if everybody would have a sense of honor and
Mhm.
respect,
Mhm.
we would need much fewer rules because everybody would look out for other people, right? Rather than making it a hard black and white, this is how it needs to be, right?
Right. I think that's where we run into trouble. The hard black and white is where we run into trouble, because there's no thought for, maybe you have a good point. You can take your black and white, and I can listen to you, Martina, and say, she might have a good point. How can I take a piece of what she's saying and maybe modify my black and white? It doesn't have to stay the same way. And what's happening now is that black and white, or we're not listening to other people as much. It's like my way or the highway, or you're wrong. And I've just, as soon as I hear that, and it doesn't matter what topic, I just go, there's that communication part. It's like, wait a second, how am I wrong? And even my second husband, when we would have talks about religion with other people, we were always open to listen to other people's beliefs. It's like, okay, I believe this, you believe this. Tell me why. Why do you believe it? Teach me something. Now, we said that in our house all the time. Teach me something so that I can understand where you're coming from. I may not at the end of the day believe you, and I obviously may not ever convert to what you're saying, but at least I'm going to understand you better, and we can agree to disagree. And so there were always those kind of conversations. But when you're telling somebody that you're wrong for what you believe, now we're going to have an argument. Now we're going to have a whole different discussion in my world, and I've always been a defender. And I've always, even back in high school, in the 80s, and the Christian uprising and all that good stuff, and the Bible thumping, and sitting in a high school in San Diego with Iranian Muslims and Christians and Baptists, and myself Catholic, but my parents stopped going to church, and just all of that, sitting in a lunchroom at 15. And somebody telling my Mormon friend, because San Diego has one of the largest outside of Utah Mormon, cathedrals. It's huge. You come around the corner on the highway, and you're like, what is that? It's huge. And telling her that her religion is wrong. And I was like, what happened? And they're like, what? I was like, did you just die and become Christ himself and be able to deem somebody judge a jury? Because you can't tell somebody they're wrong, because you haven't gone on to the next realm to find out if you're right or you're wrong. So how are you telling somebody that they're right or wrong? You may say the sky is blue. I may say it's green. Who's right? Who's wrong? For somebody colorblind, they might think it's green, but I may not know that they're colorblind. So there's all kinds of things. It's when you're telling somebody that they're right or they're wrong, there's a little bit more conversation that needs to happen.
Well, and if there's hard rules, right? If there's a
Yeah.
black and white, the only thing you get, well, let me see. There's two parts, right? And we talked about that before as well. It's like you either get the rule follower or you get the brat.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So the good people that are going to follow all the rules because that's what you're supposed to do, or fuck this, I'm out of here, I'm
Yeah.
never gonna, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna do me, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's no space for expression really
Right.
inside of that.
Correct. Yeah.
That
You can either have anarchy or, the other way. And which one is right? Where's the middle? Sometimes and that's where we said, the gray sometimes is bad, but this is where the gray could be good. You can have the rule follower that wants to break the rules to make it better.
yeah.
But then that constant rule follower that does want to break the rules is deemed as, the revolutionary, and so it's interesting the way we perceive things. But again, it's those
Yeah.
societal rules that we have put in place.
I actually, the revolutionary is too good a term. I think the anarchist.
Yeah, the anarchist. It's true. Sometimes it is pure anarchy because people are just so conditioned to doing it that one way,
Yeah.
um, that they can't see something different. And we're so, again, conditioned, or I don't want to use something so negative as brainwashed or whatever, but we're so conditioned to hearing something over and over and over again that you won't hear something different, and we're not, this is the way it's going to be done, this is how it is. And I call it blissful ignorance, you know. It's as simple as, even, if you're paying your taxes the same way all the time, or you're not voting for whatever reason, right? And I'm not trying to get political, but it's the people who say I don't vote because it's never going to change, right? That's blissful ignorance. Until somebody comes knocking on your door, literally taking the money from your pocket, literally saying the rules changed yesterday, you need to give me $100 more. That's when you go, wait a minute, what? What happened? Then you wake up, right? But for the everyday norm, nothing's going to change. I'm just going to do what I'm told to do, status quo, until it literally comes knocking on your door, until it changes your life directly. That's when you wake up. So we live
Yeah.
in a blissful ignorance fog.
Well, it's easier, I believe. I believe it's easier, and unless we get shaked out, like you had issues, like you had the divorce, you worked with nothing, you had to deal with life, you were so challenged, and that caused you
Yeah.
to become, like, because all of those things, otherwise we become complacent, right? It's comfortable here, why should I change? It's working, why should I rock the boat? Until it's like, no, this is not tolerable anymore, right? Otherwise we won't change, right? As humans, we don't change unless it is so in our face that it's like,
Yeah.
okay, no,
Yeah.
how about no? Right.
Right. Right. Yeah. We can't see the human condition of other people's outside of our neighborhood or outside of our state or outside of our country, we can't, because we're not in that human condition. Right. So until those conditions come to us, we're not going to see the struggle. We're not going to see what they're going through. We're not going to, why can't you live in, and we could go through all kinds of different topics in society right now. If you're not willing and open to hear the conversation of walking in somebody else's shoes, or what is privilege? Why do you not think that you have it?
But
It's
it's difficult.
it's
It's
difficult
so
because you
difficult.
haven't, right. It's
Like
you.
I believe that, as women, we're somewhere in between, right? We we have the white male with unearned privileges at the top, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And then I was talking to a friend about hierarchies, and I thought it was hilarious because he's like, well, as a gay man, I'm still above women. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, right? It's like, I didn't know that. Okay, right? And so we can still see who is lower because we see how it is to have somebody on top, but the ones on top don't get to see,
Right.
really. They cannot understand what it feels like to walk in somebody else's shoes. And I can
Correct.
tell you, I've had these conversations many, many times.
Mhm.
Uh, which is like, well, maybe you should, my son is in a wheelchair. It's like, maybe you should spend half a day in a wheelchair and see how people react to you
Right.
and
Right.
talk to you.
Right. Are they going to open the door? Are they going to
Maybe
push the ramp?
you should cross dress and try and see what that's like, right? But it's like, no, I cannot
Yeah.
do that. Well, like
Wear
the
a hijab for a day. My daughter's my second husband was Muslim. I never converted. Wear a hijab for a day.
yeah,
See what a woman in a hijab goes through.
yeah.
My son is a Muslim, but luckily he's a boy. He doesn't look, he's Puerto Rican, Italian, and Arab, so he doesn't have that Arab look. He looks very Italian. So he doesn't have that, but students in his class know that he's Muslim. So some of the back talking behind his back,
Yeah.
only because they know his culture. So,
But it's the fear, right? It's the
it's the
fear.
fear, right? But again, that conditioning, that whatever it is, the media, the people, whatever you hear your family, your parents have put out there about that, it's that fear to keep you in control, to keep you in line, right? So, but have you ever gone up to him and said, what is your religion about? What is your country about? We're afraid to have those conversations to learn what the human condition is about. I tell my daughter all the time, you should hear some of the stories that one daughter is fully hijab and one is not. And you should hear some of the stories of the things, the ignorant comments that come out of people's mouths that they don't think are ignorant. Like they'll just say them because they have no idea that they're saying something so asinine. And I'm like, they couldn't have said that. Like she has a mole right here. So when she wears the hijab, you can see the mole. And they're like, you can't be Boricua, Puerto Rican. You have that dot on your head. Like, because they think it's the Indian dot. It's like, wait, what? Just what? It's just crazy, crazy things that people have said to the cable man who said, wow, you really don't have an accent. My daughter's like, I was born right here in New London, Connecticut. It's like, what? Again, they don't think that they're saying anything wrong.
Yeah.
And it blows your mind that in 2025, we're still doing some of these crazy things.
I think it's actually gotten worse.
Very much so. I know
And it's going to get better, but for right now, I think it's gotten worse.
yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Let's just go to a lighter topic. How about
Yeah, let's see. Yeah.
so if you had a magic wand and you could give people any quality, like any quality, what would it be and why?
When I was reading your questions, it was this one I just kind of marinated on for the longest time. And I think the answer popped into my head really fast. And then it was like, okay, is that the right answer for me? Is that, then that's probably, and it would be empathy, honestly. Again, ask more questions, learn about people, learn about yourself, you know, um, give yourself grace. Because if you don't learn that, if you don't dig deep on who you are, how are you going to give it to anybody else? Um, and empathize with other people's conditions, other people's stories. Yeah, you can. I told my kids a long time ago, they would come home and say, this kid, that kid, and this happened at school. It's like, don't forget, you don't know what's going on behind closed doors in their house, and they don't know what's happening in this house, so give some people a little bit of grace. Yeah, they may be a jerk, and yeah, you deserve to throw that basketball at their head because what they said, it's like that was a true story. But and he deserved it. But anyway, but just you don't know what somebody else is going through. So having that empathy, first for yourself, giving yourself grace. We evolve, we go through stories and decades in our lives. And if you don't take some time to step back and reflect, did we learn anything through that phase? And it might not be right at that time because you know very well you can't sit in those emotions and see what the lesson was at the time. But if you're not a student of your own life, and it's hard, I know, I can sit here and people maybe listening to this later going, Shirley, we know you didn't learn that when you were doing it, so, but I've taken the time to go back and say, what was the lesson that I learned? Who am I now? Because I'm definitely not the same person that I was when I got married the first time at 19 and had my daughter. And I'm not the same person in my second marriage. And I'm not the same person that I was in the last relationship for 9 years. I'm not. So and then having the empathy for other people that are going through amazing things that I couldn't imagine my life ever going through. So yeah, so empathy would be my magic wand if I could give it to anybody.
Good stuff. Shirley, let's brag about your business. So first tell everyone like what you offer, how they can reach you, all that good stuff.
Oh yeah. So again, so going back to color analysis. Color analysis is not anything new. It's been around forever. A lot of people listening will hear, "Oh yeah, my mom did that." Back in the day. The day was the height of it was in the 80s. It's huge now. You'll see it on TikTok filters. I have to thank TikTok for giving me so many new clients because it's so wrong to stick your head in a filter on TikTok. So thank you for that. Not that it doesn't give you a lot of great advice either, but anyway, so it really is, and again, because color has energy, it has power, it has all that good stuff. I start with color. So everybody could say, I'm good. I just need you to go in my closet. Yes and no. If I don't start with color, then we don't know really where to go from there, what to keep, what to start, what's your signature color, what brings you joy, what energy or what messages are you trying to send. It works for just regular people. It works for people in business. What is the message that your business is trying to send? What is your brand color? What is your mission statement? Are you really sending the messages out in your clothing when you're meeting new clients, when you're doing your podcast, when all of that? So color sends messages. So color analysis starts first. I don't really say that I do yes, I'll start you with the 4 seasons. We'll get you there, but it's not a 4 seasons method because again, I'm a student of life. I've been doing this for 23 years. I'm constantly incorporating new methods, watching others, how they do it and saying, "Ooh, there it is. That's a good tip. Let's try to work that in. And does it do the right thing?" So I'm constantly incorporating new things and been doing it virtual too. So in New England, I can drive to you. You can come to me. We can do it party style. Or I can do it virtual. And I've really honed in for the past 5 years. COVID made me flip that switch real quick. And I've developed a really good system of pictures and being able to do it virtually. So I can do that. And they can check out my website, which is the letter N improved.com. So it's a spin on you and improved. But you can't use ampersands when you're picking your websites, which makes me mad because it's an ampersand. So you and improved. And Facebook is Let's Get You and Improved, all spelled out. I do Instagram, but Instagram I kind of keep a mix of me and personal and business. So it's kind of a hodgepodge, but you can find me there. And I am a part-time amateur photographer, so I kind of mix it up there as well. So yeah, that's how you can find me. I do style expression. That's another. So once you hone in on the color, it's like, again, what's your style? Are you classic? Are you the artist? Are you the city chic? A lot of people, and again, that evolution, you were a student for X amount of years. Now, ponytails, sweatpants, and jeans aren't going to work in the corporate world. What is the style expression that you want to develop? So that's a really big thing that I've been working on. The classes that I develop. I just worked with a young gentleman who's a techie, so he's a computer guy and always behind the scenes, but he got a promotion. So he's like, now what do I do? So teaching him how to dress in better suits, better outfits. So, and based in colors. So what colors look best for him. So developed his style expression. So that's, and again, it doesn't have to be a career person. You can have capsules of the casual mom or the PTA mom or the, going out. You can have those capsules of those expressions that you want to develop. So that's another class that I do. I do speaking engagements similar to this. And for different things, I'm a certified fitter for Dress for Success. Tomorrow, I'm so excited. Tomorrow, I'm going for the 3rd or 4th time to an organization called Save a Suit here in Connecticut. And they suit veterans that are looking for jobs. So that's really, tomorrow's the women's event. So I'm super, super excited about that. So helping these veterans who have done their part and served our country. And they're out going to get interviews. And so we're suiting them from head to toe, accessories, suits, shoes, it's a joy. So yeah, so those are all some of the things that I do. So that's how they can find me. Facebook.
Yay! And we will include all of the information with the notes for the podcast. So if are inspired to work with Shirley, you have lots of ways to reach out and um, get her lovely energy to help your lovely energy.
And then I think you asked me if I was running a special, right? Is that
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's almost August, Virgo season, remember? So for June, July, and August, it's summertime because a lot of people are doing things, and it's the most colorful time of year, really. There's not a bad time for color, it just shifts. But so I'm running a color special, and if it's just for you, you can have your colors done again in person or virtually, and you'll save $54 off of a personal color analysis. And if you want to get anywhere between 2 and 5 people together, either in person or virtually, like if we do a Zoom and everybody gets their colors done, you can save per person $104 off of getting your color analysis done. So that's a huge savings, and it will end on my birthday on August 31st. So
Sweet. Get
so
your
it's happy.
girlfriends together and have a party and
It's
yay.
so much fun. Color parties are so much fun because the first person gets to go. It's usually the hostess, and everybody's sitting back going, "Ooh, no, yeah, ooh, you look good." No, no, and then everybody's an expert in the room. So the second and the third person is like, "Oh, let's do this," and they've got their little drinks and their snacks, and it's a lot of fun. So,
Awesome. I see. I didn't even know that was a possibility. We learned
oh
new
my
things.
God, it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Cool.
Yay.
Yeah.
That is
But if
so,
you're not
so
that brave and
awesome.
just want to do it for yourself, and then we can go peek in your closet and we can, take a little peek in there. But closet evaluations are a little bit different. So that's usually an add-on service. But I will literally say when you open your closet tomorrow, it's going to be a whole nother experience. So we talk about the next steps and how to take it in baby steps. And I leave you with all the tips and tools so you're not staring at your closet going, oh shit, I got nothing to wear now. Instead, you're going to open up your closet and go, damn, I look good today. So you can take that either way. You can either go this way or that way. So,
I love it. I love it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. And as Christina said, it's all the information is going to be in the notes. And if you want to find out more about us, you can also check out our Linktree profiles in the notes. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you so much for being here. It was such a pleasure to be with you. And thank you for all of you out there. Thank you for being here, for listening. If you love this, please leave us a review. Please share. Please share. Please share. It's always beautiful to be in these conversations, so inspiring. And please always remember that you are extraordinary. You rock. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
Bye, everyone. Shirley, you get to end it.
thank you so much. Just go out, put a pop of color in your day. It can be any color. Just put a pop of color in your day. Colors everywhere, and it has energy. So go for it.
Yay.